Welcome to this training video. This is a training video series on consulting overview, how to start a consulting business and how to make it big. So this is the third part of this course. There are two parts before that. I hope that you will watch them as well. And this is Said, by the way. I provide consulting service under Just Etc. Technologies. It's a Canadian company, Toronto, Ontario based. And this is the website of the company, and it's a personal website. So I'll just skip through all the slides that I have discussed in the other two training videos. So I will start from methods of billing. Okay. Here I will talk how you can charge or bill your client. You can charge your client daily or hourly. You can say that I will be charging $50 per hour, $60 per hour, $70 per hour. So in that case, you will be charging only for the hour you work for them. So it is more flexible because if you go for daily rate, then what you have to do? You have to say, I think for this one day, I will be charging $500 per hour, $500 per day, or $1,000 per day. So in that case, if you go for daily contract, daily billing, so for most of the days, you have to be working the whole day. And whole day means usually 8 hours, 7.5 to 8 hours or 7 to 8 hours. That's what it is. So for hourly, the flexibility is you can go work for the hours and get paid for it. You can handle multiple clients at the same time, and you can charge each one of them hourly. For some hours you'll be working for them, and it may also give you the flexibility to work from home or to work from different places, because you don't have to be working the whole day. And sometimes it's easier to ask for working from home than daily. Okay, and another approach is you can work on retainer. You may go for a contract with the client that he must have to utilize some amount of hours per month, and they have to pay it whether they can use you for those amount of hours or not. You can say that you can work for 20 to 30 hours per week, and the client has to pay it whether they use this hour with you or not. I think it can be beneficial for both parties. For you as a consultant, there is something guaranteed income for a particular duration. You need to decide on the duration as well. Yeah, and for the client side, by providing a retainer rate, you may ask, I think they may offer a little bit of lower rate than you really deserve in the market. So when it is guaranteed, yeah, you can work on that. So one another advantage is for you can work for multiple clients, and you can give a certain amount of times for each of the clients. Maybe for some you can work as a retainer, for some you can work as a hourly consultant, or even daily if you can meet the retainer contract in the other days as well. Performance billing. In that case, you charge the client only if you perform. But this is actually a rare thing. The situation is like this: if you can perform, only when you bill. But if you don't perform, you get nothing. So fixed price billing. I think this is actually the total project price. Okay, so the client will be giving you the task for the project, and you have to give them the total cost, total price. And you can determine on how frequently they have to pay you and what rate. You can negotiate on that, but it can be 3 months or 6 months. Within that period, you have to finish the project, and also they will be paying you the exact amount of time, exact amount of money for the total project. Okay. Sometimes the duration can be flexible, maybe 3 months, 6 months, or you can take 1 year, but the total price is fixed. Total payment is fixed. Okay, if you go for this fixed price billing, you need to be very careful. Otherwise, you may end up losing money. You need to consider the details of the project, of the contract, or of the aspects. If there is anything hidden and all the terms, overestimate a bit. When you are estimating your time, you need to estimate a little bit more time that you feel will be required, and how more. I can try to different estimation techniques, find out the estimate, and also you have to overestimate on top of that, because if things go wrong, you end up taking more time. That if the client does not pay you, you end up losing money. Control costs closely. You need to control your costs closely, otherwise you may not be earning as much as you are supposed to. You may be spending more than you are earning. Specify the requirements in detail, the project requirements, it should be in detail. And all of the terms and all of the requirements, best if you can get them in writing. At least the high level one, and definitely the more detail you can get, the better. That will also help you determine the duration of the project. And also, it's really hard to know all the requirements in the beginning. So there will always be some changes, updates, new features. So you need to document all of those changes the client is requesting. And probably you also need to find out whether they belong to the existing requirements or not. And whenever the client will be trying to change something, probably you need to go for a discussion to understand are this part of the existing requirements, or those the new, or if this is a change, if this is a huge change, the client is supposed to pay. You need to make clear, you need to make everything in writing. Disclosing the fee. I think here I mean, do you need to disclose all the details how you came up with your consulting fees? In general, you do not need to. But some clients like government usually wants full service, full disclosure. Are you charging for the travel or rent or hotel or some other stuff? Are you charging the client for those or not? The government in general wants to know. Okay, and another thing is in terms of billing, another aspect is you may need to determine your prices or billing rates in many different ways. Probably some clients will prefer hourly better, some clients will prefer daily better, some clients will want for the total project. It also sometimes depends on the normal, how the practice of the client. It may depend on this. So whatever you want to charge, you need to calculate your daily rate, hourly rate, and also based on the industry or size of the industry, how that will vary. And when you are dealing with the client, you need to discuss all the details. Okay, consulting contracts. What is a consulting contract? It is some sort of binding between you and the client. You will be providing the service, and the client will be taking your service in terms of payment. This is the contract. It's a little bit of legal contract, you can say. If there is any violation, you can go for courts. But there has to be some other stuff established, or to make that easier, you need to follow some standard consulting contract rules and regulations, or maybe some formal contracts. I'm just going, I'll just go through them. Why a contract is necessary? A contract is necessary to understand the terms clearly from both sides, what the client is expecting and what you are offering, what you agreed to. whatever the requirements you agreed to fulfill. So it is important so that both parties understand what they agreed on, and it will definitely help you get paid. Sometimes uh, conflicts arise. So if conflicts arise and you cannot agree on your own, you cannot come to an agreement, so you may need to seek legal help. In those cases, the contract, especially the written contract, will help you a lot and help you to get paid. Sometimes what happens is the client provides you a standard client contract and you need to sign them if you agree to those terms. And another thing is you may find out clients who will want you to sign the contract as fast as possible, just to give you and make you sign the document. It's not an ethical way, I would say. Actually, you should be given time to read the contract clearly and probably take home and read it clearly, talk to your lawyers, talk to your accountants, and then see if it is something acceptable or not. Then you can decide whether to sign or not. Okay, sometimes you may feel that, okay, you need the job, the client is giving you the contract and conditions that they agree, but it may not be, it should not be the case. You can always negotiate whatever you want and whatever you don't like based on this, and eventually you have to come to an agreement and sign the contract. You can develop your own contract the way the client was presenting a contract. You can also develop your own contract. It can contain that what are the conditions you'll be working on. Probably you may want some general conditions in all of the consulting positions, otherwise you will not be working on them. But probably you want them, but you can negotiate them, but you can put them in writing and you can present your contract to the client and you can come to an agreement on that. It's usually a good idea because sometimes it happens that there are some assumptions. The client assumes something, you assume something, you want something, but the client's assumption is something else. So when you start working, there is some conflict. So it's better that you also express whatever you want. And you also have to consider your situation. Sometimes it happens you may want to accept a contract. If still it doesn't meet what you want, anyway, incurring a contractual agreement. So what are the options? Formal contract. What are formal contract? It's a fully documented contract. It's a very legal contract between you and the client. The latter contract, it usually originates from request for proposal. Just little bit of modifications or adjustments or how much the client has accepted, extracting those and putting it in a letter and signing and making it as a letter contract. It's not as formal as the formal contract, but still it's very close. Order agreements. Under this, you are authorized to work for the company as a consultant and bill them as required. You are just given the authorization. Some detailed terms may be there. Purchase orders. I think these are usually used by big companies when they are purchasing low-cost products or low-cost services. They consider it as a purchase order and treat it like that and treat it like this. Verbal contracts. In verbal contracts, you just agree to work for the client agrees, and you start working as soon as possible. There is no written contract, there is no formal contract, there is nothing in between. There is nothing written. I think it happens many of the time. It's common, but reality is it really should be avoided. You should provide your best effort to not to go for verbal contracts. You should put the contracts in writing. For the verbal contract, the client may change his mind. They can deny whatever they agreed on. You have nothing to do. If there is any conflict, you cannot go to the court and prove what was agreed or not, your chances of winning the case is significantly low. So the best option is formal contract. Okay. Types of contract, it relates to some of the topics I told before. Fixed contracts, it's the uh, fixed amount of charging or charging the client a fixed amount for the total project. Cost contracts, you'll be charging the client billing, sorry, per hour. So you'll be working for them, you'll keep charging them per hour or per day, anything. Performance contracts, as I told, performance contracts is really very rare. You'll be saying, okay, let's say I'll be designing your marketing campaign and you pay me only if my campaign increases a 10% increase in sales. It's a risk on your part, but sometimes what happens is if you are so confident and you want the project, you can phrase your contract as a performance contract just to show the client that you're capable, you're confident, and you can do the job, and even you are risking to get nothing. So probably the client would agree to give you the contract. And sometimes when you put your words like a performance contract, the client may go for the fixed contract and cost contract. They may not even go for the performance contracts. Incentive contracts, it's just a mix of fixed contracts, cost contracts, or performance contracts. I think there will be some base payment, and if there is performance outcome of your effort, then you'll be getting something from there. For example, you can design a marketing campaign for some client and you can say, okay, for this campaign, I will be charging you some X amount of dollar. And if you get any additional, and for each additional client or customer as will be generated from this campaign, you'll be getting $10 per customer. So in that case, what is happening is there is a fixed amount here and there is another variable amount there that will depending on the performance. Elements of a contract. When you'll be writing a contract, what should be there? I think there are some 5 must requirement things that should be on the contract. Who the consultant and the client. Who is the working as the consultant and who is working as a client. What services the client will provide. Where the services will be performed. How this, and also it should include the address of both parties. When those services will be performed by the consultant and when you will be paid, and how probably it may not be that necessary. When is important, how much pay. Yeah, it is just the rate the consultant will be charging. Okay, some more elements of a contract. In a contract document, you can put some more elements, but these are not must or may not be common in all types of contract and all types of industries. One of them is competitive restrictions. What does it mean? Probably when you hire a consultant or when you work for a client as a consultant, the client may put some restrictions that you cannot compete with them in the next 1 year or in the next 2 years, in the next 6 months. Patent rights, if any patent or intellectual property comes out of this contract, who will own the patent? It can be you, it can be the company, or it can be both 50-50 or 70-30, something like that. You need to negotiate and determine on that, and it should be on the contract. Insurance coverage. Sometimes the client may want you to have some general liability insurance, an insurance, or all those things, and maybe injury insurance. If that is the case, it should be noted on the contract and how much insurance you should have. And another thing is if the client wants you to have insurance and you have to keep insurance, your overhead increases and you have to include this insurance cost in your pricing strategy to determine the hourly Great, but why insurance? It protects you if something goes wrong in your work. Confidentiality, it is just a contract, I think, so that you don't disclose the internal stuff of the company to outsiders, and definitely intellectual property not, as we discussed. And another thing is you can also put some confidentiality from your end. Planning and scheduling the project. I will not give a detailed stuff here. You can use some part model, network model. In network model, you identify all the tasks. We determine their duration required and the sequence, which task is dependent on what, which needs to be performed before the other and which can go after. So, and then you put them in a graph and you sequence them and you try to find out the shortest path to finish the project, and you take it as the total duration of the project. I think you have to see it from your case, can you make use of this model or not. And agile methodology, waterfall methodology, these are some methodology to develop the project. I think it more relates into the software development and IT. Okay, I did not try to figure. Okay, probably they are also usable in other areas. It should not be only in IT. And reality is the part model can also be utilized in agile methods, waterfall methodology. I think it will definitely work on the waterfall for sure. In agile, so far it looks, depending on the sprint size, you may be able to use it, or probably it can, for part model can be utilized in the beginning, even before the coding starts, to determine the sequence and approximate duration of the project. Probably you may insert some tasks that are related to those methodologies, assign some sort of duration for those to adjust to those methodologies. Okay, this is all for this part 3. And the next part will be working with a negotiation with your client and some other stuff. Anyway,